Mr. Speaker, the truth is these are no longer the Tories your parents voted for, and the public can see it.
Is this a party that you recognise as a former chair of the Conservatives?
I don't think it's definitely not a party that I recognise, but it's not a party that so many of my colleagues recognise.
Here's Sayeeda Warsi earlier this year talking about how the Tory party has changed. But it's important to know that the seeds of their destruction were always baked into their success from Thatcher onwards. She gave the green light for individualism above the needs of community, so against the group and the collective needs of people in general.
But the power I took was the power to reduce the power of government, to reduce the taxation, to reduce the ownership of government. In other words, to limit the powers of government, not to enlarge them.
Also that she could claim that it was the state that was holding back individuals from succeeding.
Colleagues on the phone over the last 48 hours just despairing. I had an very senior ex-cabinet colleague saying, they're just jokers. This is how bad it's now become. It's almost like we're watching a car crash in slow motion, and however hard we try and say stop, don't do this, it carries on happening.
Because we had a Tory party that was filled with extremely wealthy individuals whose only aim was to look after their own self-interests. They stoked division to distract us while they raided the public purse. It was Thatcherism taken to extremes.
And of course it's bad for the party, Carol. I'm not going to deny that. And of course it concerns me that we are heading into a general election where we could effectively be wiped out for a generation. But what disturbs me more is the fact that this kind of divisive far-right conspiratorial rhetoric is now in the mainstream.
Tory policies and ideologies of self over community have driven a wealth gap, making a vast difference between the rich and the poor. Inequality is one of the drivers of hate, and we also have newspapers, online media and TV channels owned by billionaires who want to keep us at each other's throats. Again, stoking division to distract us as they plunder and steal.
And this has real life consequences. If you look at the reports, if you look at the Home Office's latest data on religious hate crime, over 40% of it is targeted at British Muslims.
Unfortunately, inequality drives racism. Fear turns to hate, and that hate is directed onto the other. People with different beliefs or darker skin colour.
And if you look at the report that came out last week, since the last 3 or 4 months, there's been a 330% rise in anti-Muslim hate crime.
Unfortunately, the progression of Tory extremism has mutated into and paved the way for the Reform Party to take root and grow. Click here for AI Girlfriends.